There are millions of people who feel that there are parts of their job that they're not trained to do. Write a strategy, manage a team, or sell to customers. And business owners are often looking for ways to outperform the competition. The Roadmap Alternative MBA is a training course which provides the real-world skills to grow a business. In small to medium-sized businesses, the challenges you face are different. To create high-performing teams, we need to teach these skills. The Roadmap Alternative MBA teaches these skills required to grow a business so that your team can add more value, aid their personal development, progress their careers, or for entrepreneurs to launch and grow their business. We also do this at a price which is affordable, using clear language delivered in video, print, and online classroom sessions. This is not just theory. This is proven knowledge from people in industry. Our mission is making business education accessible. Join us.
Hello and good morning. My name is Steve Pugh. It's Friday, the 14th of January, 2022. Every Friday morning, I do a bit of a live stream Q&A session. I have a business course called the Roadmap MBA, which fortunately goes out to 26 different countries. And what we really try and do is make business education accessible in a way to kind of simplify down lots of really complicated business topics and tools and techniques and stuff that you can use to make a real impact in your business kind of today. And one of the big things that we're very keen to do, it's all about the interactivity, where basically it's a live course. You know, you can join in lots of, there's 4 classroom sessions every week. You get a textbook, there's lots of kind of cool stuff. But people also often want to just pick my brains on lots of different stuff, or they have a question. So what I do in the live Q&A is that if you comment in the chat, and I love it when people get involved. Good morning, Simon, as always. Out of interest, why is it not popped up? I think it could be to do with, I know why, I'll be 1 second. I turned it off. Where are we? No, it should be on. There we go. Apologies, it was working. There was just a time delay between when the kind of message came in. But this is the beauty of doing stuff live, that I wanted to kind of fix it, because that's the whole point of, you know, kind of having the interactivity, where basically you can comment from anywhere in the world, ask any questions, that kind of thing. And what we do is talk about real stuff that we've kind of done that week, which is hopefully of interest and that kind of thing. I also give a bit of a recap on the week and stuff that I've done this week, purely because as an entrepreneur kind of myself, it always helps to kind of, you know, it's the proof in the pudding and that kind of thing. So, you know, you're not kind of going on a journey with someone that isn't doing it themselves. So for me, that's kind of quite important. But as kind of proven, good morning, Andrew, as well. If you do comment, it does pop up on screen as well. And I just wanted to make sure everything's working and that kind of thing. And again, that's the beauty of doing this kind of live, that there is, you know, a learning curve involved. And as always, you know, you try new things, some things work, some things don't, but it is what it is. What my topics are going to be today, just, you know, to kind of give you an interest in case it's of interest in. I'm going to talk about something which came up in one of the classroom sessions, which is the need to drive revenue quickly. That for anyone who has a new startup or a new business, or you set up as a kind of solo founder or freelancer, whatever, we have all of the theory about everything that you should do to build a brand, build a business, all of the proper stuff that we should do and you should do over time. But there's a big difference between actually when you first set up to actually get to the break-even point where you're not losing money. So I'm going to talk about that because it is different. It's something that came up on Tuesday. So I kind of just want to do a video about it in case anyone else kind of finds it interesting. I'm going to talk about public sector tenders and opportunities, which is something which is new to me, which I did this week for the first time. I'm going to talk about that and why it's a really kind of interesting thing to both look at, consider, and ways to kind of hopefully get involved as well. So I'm going to talk about that. And then another chat question which came in yesterday, I think, was actually to do with launching a podcast. So as someone that both podcasts and live streams and does stuff, one thing I'm going to talk about is actually how to do it on a budget. So one of the things that you know, we do is that I set up in my bedroom, give or take 2 years ago for the first time, to actually, you know, when lockdown kind of first happened, and I learned it all from scratch. So what we're going to do is go through stuff from basically what you can do for free, and you'd be amazed at how much stuff you can actually do for free. So never let cost or anything that kind of hold you back. Then if you had up to say £100 or £300, where I believe you can almost get your biggest kind of bang for your buck, you know, to benefit from kind of that to make the quality better, all the way through to if you would spend £20,000 on a studio and what you could do and how it could work and that kind of thing as well. So if you're interested in podcasting, live streaming, or even just improving your kind of Zoom meetings, hopefully that might be of interest too. So in terms of stuff that I've done this week, fortunately, there's a new thing called Founder Sessions, which is Carl from a company or a startup called Perch It. I actually did the interview with him yesterday afternoon. I think it's going to go out next week. And basically that's really interesting. It was a whole chat to do with my journey, the business, best advice I'd had, almost in a way that as someone who's out there doing it, if you check out Carl's kind of sessions and Founder Sessions and the stuff on all the kind of socials, hopefully it'll be quite interesting. And then something that which relates to this is that I spoke previously about some of my lead actions, so the things that I want to do with my business kind of moving forward. And actually one of them was to be a guest on more people's webinars, shows, podcasts, that kind of thing, is, you know, a way to kind of get the word out about the roadmap MBA and what we're kind of looking to do. So it was really kind of a pleasure to do that, and it, you know, it was brilliant. And actually next Friday at 1 p.m, the guys at Fabric, so the Fabric Academy, have invited me on to basically be a guest. They do a webinar series, and you've got some really big names, and I'm flattered to kind of be asked. And basically what we're going to talk about is personal and professional development, ways and means to do different things. It's a Q&A session, so Lisa has lots of different questions she's going to ask. And then as someone that's kind of been through the process, you know, I've started my career from nothing, and actually, you know, had lots of peaks and troughs and that kind of thing. Hopefully it'll be quite interesting. And then likewise, just all of the learning that I've done in terms of professional development, sharing things that work, sharing things that don't work. And also, I guess the difference between real world stuff in actually your job or your business and what the textbooks tell you. There is a kind of difference. So next Friday, I will send out the stuff to kind of, you know, just talk about that as well. If you do ever comment, please, you know, do it. It will come up on the screen. I love it when people comment, just to let me know kind of where in the world you're from. In the past, we've had people from India, Dubai, America, Brazil, all over the kind of world, which is quite cool. And we've also got some new people on the course. So if you're part of the Roadmap MBA, or even if you're not, just say hello. We're now up to approaching 800 kind of users, which is quite cool. People who've got the packs, version 1 and version 2. You know, these sessions are for you, and likewise when we have the kind of classroom drop-in sessions as well. What's really interesting when you talk about kind of user feedback is that it's brilliant actually that most people, and I'm talking like 95% of people, have the textbook, work through it in their own time, and it's only if they ever get stuck or ask questions, or they have a dramatic change in the business, they then want to join, and that's absolutely cool. That kind of works for me. But the point is that I want you to know that at any point you can join these things if you ever wish. And one other thing I'm going to shout out, just on the rough chance that you kind of see this, on the company Twitter account, there's a guy called Mike Winnett who, if you've ever seen him on YouTube, he does the Entrepreneur series, really good. I've followed his stuff for a long time. Basically, he followed Roadmap MBA the other day, so I've sent him a pack as well. But the point is, it's really both flattering that people are starting to discover what we're trying to do. And hopefully, yeah, if you've got any questions, Mike, hi, if we ever say hello. And yeah, cool, I'm going to jump in. Please get involved in the comments. They do pop on my screen. And yes, for the next kind of 20-30 minutes, I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet today. I'm going to talk through lots of different stuff. But if you miss anything, these all go onto YouTube as well, each kind of main section and stuff. So, you know, you can always catch up then. And actually, if you search Roadmap MBA on any channel, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever, hopefully you'll find us, find some of the content, and hopefully you'll kind of check it out as well. Okay, I'm going to go blue today. Actually purple, why not? I'm feeling purpley. Okay. So when you kind of start your business, and this is true for anyone, but you can also take this for any established business who needs to drive money quickly. The techniques are the same, and actually the order in which we tackle and look to help you grow your business again are the same if you need to get money into the business quickly. You have the long-term approach, which is all of the stuff that we talk about, brand building and awareness and all the really nice stuff that you do over time. You absolutely 100% should do that. But there's a different approach to drive money quickly, which is what I'm kind of going to talk about today. But please keep it in the context of the bigger picture of what we actually kind of want to do. So I'm just going to draw the axes in black, and I'll go purple, orange as well. Okay. So if we plot money against time, and I'm going to be crude and I'm going to treat this in the case study in which it came in, which was to do with a freelancer, but you could also treat it for any business of any kind of size. Often when you start, there's a point where you have savings, you launch your business, but you haven't got enough customers yet to break even. So actually there's a period where you're losing money. I did this, everyone does this, it's absolutely cool. Don't worry about it. It's about knowing what to do next. If you ever can, and you're looking to set up your own side hustle business, whatever, if you can start to kind of win customers on the side or develop on the side, you can actually bring this closer, that in a dream world, before you actually set up on your own, you're already at the break-even point where you're not losing money every month. Is that cool? But the point is, everyone goes through this. For me, it probably was 6 months. So I set up in the October of 2019. Although I, bits and bobs and I had projects, and my first client was actually in New York, which was very cool. And then I had some other stuff, but it was all like one-off thing. It wasn't regular income. Often for a lot of people, the dream is to have that sustained regular income. But then the point is to actually get to the point where you start to break even, you're not losing money anymore, and then starting to grow. The challenge is we want to get to this point as quickly as we can, because what happens for a lot of people and a lot of businesses is that basically you run out of runway. So the amount of time that you have between when you launch and when you run out of cash, which would be basically going to zero, is what we call your runway. So for me, whenever you set up, you want at least 6 months of kind of buffer time to kind of get things in order to kind of get there. I had 24 when I first set up, but the point is it's about having that buffer there, that it will take longer than you think, but actually it's better to be forewarned and forearmed. So what I recommended to James in the session is that when you kind of launch and grow a business, there's lots of stuff that we want to do, which is your brand, your look, your feel, your logos, your website, your social media content, your live streams, your podcasts, all that kind of cool stuff that a lot of people want to create. Websites, everyone always wants kind of perfection. But the truth is, all that kind of stuff is mega, mega important, but it's long term. So, but what I mean by that is that actually, as you get further into your business, and so I've been running for about 2 years now it really starts to kick in and it drives better conversion rates and that kind of thing. But basically, for anyone in the first 6 months or any business that needs to drive revenue quickly, it's all to do with sales. It's actually just making sure that people know what they can buy and actually asking for it. So what we're going to talk about today is sales and why this is super, super important for anyone that needs to drive money quickly. So the first thing that we really need to kind of nail down is making sure that people know what can they buy and really making it clear. So what? If you are a freelancer like this chap was, there are two sides to what you should always kind of consider. One is what you want to sell. So say if I want to be a management consultant, bad example, because say if I want to be a ballet dancer or a chef, that's the dream that I want to kind of follow a particular path. It could be that I want to do a particular project management role or whatever. But the point is, in that first 6 months when you're looking to drive revenue just to cover your bills and stay alive, don't be too prescriptive so that don't tell people that they can only hire you for one thing. Realistically, what you want to do is reach out to friends and colleagues and lots of different people that might respect you and know you, and this is where we talk about your personal brand and stuff, and almost ask, is there anything you can do to help? And what you really want to do is make it clear that you're now available, that people can hire you, and you have a specialism in a certain area. But actually, if you limit yourself to a particular niche, there might be friends and colleagues that would hire you to help them in their business. But if you say that you only do one particular task, that doesn't help them with potential problems that they have elsewhere. And the point is, if you limit yourself, less people are going to have the ability or want to hire you. And obviously when they hire you, they pay you. And the whole point is that you can then use that cash to build the brand, build more awareness. And essentially going back to the other page, it's all about surviving that gap. So basically, although people want to know what they can buy and how they can do it. So you want to just set up your website, set up your socials, and make it clear what people can do. But the point is, ask. Find different people within your network that you already kind of know and trust, and actually reach out to them and say, hi, I'm Steve. I know we know each other. I've recently set up to do this, but actually, is there anything I can do to help you in the business? I'm really good at sales, project management, strategy, whatever. But the point is, be open to new things, because actually, when every business goes through a period where you might pivot or change or learn or adapt, that happens through consumer feedback. But the more you can actually be open to solving the problems that other people have, it will actually help you just get through that valley of death to get to sustainability. And it's almost that kind of thing. But one of the things which came out, which I thought was really interesting in the session on Tuesday, was that a lot of people are technical specialists in a particular area. So it could be in tech, in coding, in that kind of thing. But they don't necessarily know how to do business development and sales. So one of the points that I made, and I'm going to talk about today, is basically if you are within your network, and I'm going to use LinkedIn as an example, but it could be your phone book, your office space, it could be whatever you want. Basically, you want a list of people that you can target. So on the course and what we talk about, and from a B2B kind of context, LinkedIn is brilliant for this. It's basically you can actually download your LinkedIn network and your contacts. So this chap had circa 300 kind of connections. If you have more, that's even better. But basically you can actually download your contacts in terms of a spreadsheet, a CSV file. You then put that into, say, Microsoft Excel or whatever your kind of spreadsheet program is, but then rank the people from best to worst in terms of actually, can they hire you or can they not? So basically you take your list. The way that I do it is basically, are they someone that can hire you and they're worth talking to? So I might just put yes or no, as simple as that. And the idea is you would go through your list of, say, 300 people and pick out the business owners, the people that could buy your service, and basically put them as a yes, and then sort the fields. And the idea is that you take that list of 300 people or 3,000 people or 20,000 people and rank the people who are most of interest for your business. And then basically what we want to do is approach them. So on the course, we call it your chat upline, but essentially what we're looking to do here is have a kind of 1 or 2 line approach, super friendly, super nice, that basically says, hi, I'm Steve, I've recently set up, is there anything I can do to help you within the business? I would love to have a chat. Something nice and that, kind of point, but the point is you have to actually ask your list of people that you want to talk to in order to drive sales. And just as a prime example is that if you rely on traditional marketing kind of methods and Twitter and Facebook and that kind of thing, that's all long-term brand stuff, which is great, but it won't drive sales today to help you get through that kind of process. The more people you ask and the better you get your message, the more successful you'll be. But don't be surprised if you reach out to 100 people. The stat is that only 3% of your potential customers are ready to buy today. So if you reach out to 100 people, don't be surprised if 97 of them aren't interested, because that's today. It doesn't mean that they won't be interested in a month's time, in 3 months' time, in 3 years' time. It's just today when you ask, that they're just not ready yet. But the point is, you also still have to approach 200, 300, 500, 600 people to start to get the inquiries through, to drive through your pipeline to actually kind of get sales. And it doesn't happen overnight, so don't expect it to happen overnight. But the point is, for anyone who's looking to drive sales quickly, basically develop your list of targets, rank them in terms of people that are worth speaking to and people that aren't. There's no point spending days and weeks chasing people that can never buy your kind of stuff. So you really want to kind of put your focus in. And then just start talking to people, be there, get the responses, and be there as like, someone that they can trust and call on. And there's loads of things that we can do to kind of build trust over time. But relating back to this, when they check you out, which they will, I have lots of people approach me on everything from Instagram to LinkedIn, whatever. If they then go through and Google you and look for your website and you don't have a website or it's garbage or whatever, they're not going to hire you. So it's still important to kind of make it clear online what people can buy, but that alone will not drive sales. What you need to do is actually create your list of people that you want to target and actually start to ask. And that's the distinction for anyone that kind of recently sets up, or any business that needs to drive sales quickly. The brand stuff is great, but the one thing it'll do is sales, activation, asking, approaching people, and really crank that handle and get those numbers up. And that's the most important thing to do in kind of the first 6 months of when you first set up. And often people don't really talk about it. They only ever talk about the longer term stuff, the email marketing stuff, the podcasts, the whatever. But actually, unless you reach out and physically approach people, as in with a direct ask of, can you offer to help? Is there anything you can help with? Can you get feedback on your product? Whatever, you're probably going to fail. And it was just something I wanted to talk about, which is hopefully of interest. But if you've got any questions, anything, please feel free to get in touch. Or if you comment in the chat, it should pop up as well, and I'll happily kind of interact and stuff as well. Cool. There we go. So just as a kind of example, the live streams and stuff that I do, it's funny that if we're going to talk about consistency in a second when we actually start to talk about podcasts and stuff, but if I only ever did one, because it's daunting, it's nervous to kind of do, you're never going to work. But for me, when I do these every Friday morning, even if people don't ever actually watch them, it's the consistency that hopefully people can trust you more, that they get a vibe on your tone of voice, your body language, what you like, if you're knowledgeable on a topic or whatever. But actually the consistency builds trust, that people kind of see you around, that they hopefully know that you're going to still be here in another 6 months or whatever. But all of this kind of stuff is longer term stuff. If you really want to drive sales, it is an important to kind of do it quickly, which is cool. Good morning, Jonathan. Jonathan, have you got your website up yet? I need you to put your website up. I'm only joking. But it's that kind of thing of just, I love the interactivity, because almost in many ways, my job is to help you be as successful as I know you can be, as you want to be, and almost to be that kind of encouraging friend to kind of push you a little bit and just really help you, know what's the right direction to do and that kind of thing as well. Okay, next one. Public sector tenders. So I spent 3.5 years in the public sector in the UK. I work for one of our regional government bodies. We call them LEPs. But actually I was involved in the public sector for a long time, and actually we have a lot of really, really good organisations that don't have parties across the UK. That's a Boris joke for anyone that watches this in a year's time, to do with a big political scandal at the moment. Anyway, but what I was going to say is that you have in every country, most countries, governments, and often you have government spending that in the UK we fund everything from schools, hospitals, business support initiatives. There's a lot of public money in the hundreds of billions of pounds that gets spent every year. And one of the big things that is now more of a trend is that I think historically a huge proportion of that always went to other big companies, which I guess is fine and it's the way it works. But actually there's a real drive to both help more SMEs, more freelancers, more startups to actually gain access to things like public sector tenders, to actually, help businesses grow. And, a huge proportion of businesses here in the UK are small and micro kind of businesses that actually, if they can win more work, which let's face it, we pay for in our taxes, it's a really kind of good win-win. My business since I set up has always been both B2B and B2C. 80-90% of my money comes from B2B, basically business consultancy, and I've kind of been sold out for about 6-7 months now. But actually with the roadmap, what I've got is, because I've tried to develop a bit of a scalable product that in theory on our Zoom classroom sessions and that kind of thing, we could have 1 million people join every call as we kind of walk through the course. I'm now at the point where actually I can scale. I have the studio, I have the textbooks, I have the content, and actually, although I'm going to keep improving it, I've kind of done the hard bit, if that makes sense. So it was actually on Tuesday night this week, I couldn't get to sleep, and I was thinking through different stuff, and something sat inside me that was like, I know a guy called Tim Ward, and he's been a former guest on the podcast, and he has a business called Opportuni, but there are others, just transparency. And basically what they do is that they help smaller businesses access public sector tenders and even just find out that they exist in a way to open up more business opportunities to you in a way that you probably would never otherwise find or even know that they exist. There's a complete new true story. It's not a paid ad. There's no stuff. I'm just giving you honest kind of feedback. So on Tuesday night, I couldn't really sleep, and I thought, you know what, Wednesday morning, I'm going to get up, get into the office, and I'm going to join their website to do a 14-day kind of free trial. Check it out and actually just see what the fuss is about. I see all the promotion stuff everywhere, which proves the marketing point. It really helps to get your word out there. Logged onto the website. It actually was super easy, not even going to lie. You put in some search terms, what you're kind of looking for, and then what it does, their bots or their robots then scour, I think it's 3,000 online portals, I think currently just in the UK, but correct me on that one, to really look to see any relevant tenders that are relevant to you and your business from across the internet, and basically it sends them to your inbox. And that's the theory, and some things like this have been around for a while, but within 10 minutes, it might even be 5 minutes, I had about 14 opportunities, about 14 opportunities in my inbox. And one of them, it was actually the first one I looked for, was absolutely perfect for what I do, where I grew up, my background, my mission, what I want to do. And basically this was in like 5-10 minutes of signing up from scratch for the website. And actually that morning, I then bashed out the tender. It's probably spent about 2-3 hours on it. Submitted it. But what it's done is really kind of open up my eyes just on the potential of stuff that is out there that small businesses you could probably look for and apply to too. That actually with the free trial, it's always the ability to actually just test the water. If you're a copywriter, I don't know, but you could put your search terms in and really just see if there is marketing support or management support or cleaning, whatever your business is. But just for my own business, until this week, I hadn't really properly considered it yet, but also being honest, I probably wasn't ready, is where I kind of am now. And it was just something I wanted to kind of talk about. So congrats to the guys at Opportunity. It's always nice when you actually use a portal that does what it says it's going to do and works. It was very slick and it was very cool. And then likewise, some of the guys have reached out again about how can they support the journey and what we're looking to do. And then actually I am going to reply to Chris on that kind of topic. But for me, I have, touch on wood, a business which is good, it's sustainable, it works, and it's growing. If I can get access to a new opportunity or set of opportunities in the public sector that bolt onto and add value to my existing kind of business, that's only a good thing. So my main concern will be, I think it's £150 a month, but check the website to check modern kind of prices. But actually, as long as it can cover the costs for any business, what it's doing is sourcing opportunities to you for what, £2,000 a year, £1.5 that actually, if it can pay for itself and it really kind of opens up new doors, it was just really super exciting. And I'm someone that's been around the block a little bit, and it was just to talk about it. And if you're ever interested, yeah, public sector opportunities, this will be the same in most kind of developed countries. Check it out, check out Opportunity. They will have competitors, I don't know who they are, but regardless. But actually just for your business of any size, it's worth having a look. Just see if it's relevant. And then actually, if you've got any questions, either drop me a message or Google the guys, and I'm sure they'll kind of get in touch. Yeah, there you go. Check it out. It's highly recommended. I don't know if I'm going to win that tender yet. I have 2 more, which I'm going to write over the weekend and submit. But for me, it's additional nice to have stuff that I wasn't expecting, which just adds value to the business. And almost, from a consumer feedback thing, just I guess comment on their business. Tim's been a guest on the podcast, but I'd never actually, I had an awareness of what they did. But when you actually have any business, you want to take it from general awareness about what people can buy from you. And then there's different stages of the buying journey to actually want to buy it and then to actually take action, etc. And to actually go through that journey and have it better than I expected. That's great. But as a prime example, going back to the sales, driving money quickly kind of thing, I just wasn't at the right point to buy their service a year ago. It doesn't mean that it was a bad service. It doesn't mean that they weren't up to speed. But just me as a potential customer, I wasn't quite there yet as where I am now. And the same will be with your business. It's about raising awareness, that people know what they can buy if they're ever ready, and then just being at the table and having them, giving them a great user experience at that time, if that makes sense. And that's part of the reason why I do the live streams and do the videos and do the classroom sessions, that 95% of people, which we're talking hundreds of people, are quite happy doing their own thing in their own time. But I just want them to know that if they want to join a session, that they can, and that's the important thing for me. But Jonathan, if you're still watching, I still want to know if you've done your website. I want to, push you, and I know how good you're going to be at what you want to do. So, yeah, don't be afraid to kind of make progress. Okay. So a message which I got in yesterday, it was yesterday, was we are looking to set up a new podcast. We've got a budget of about £300. What do we do? What do we buy? What's good? What works? What doesn't? So what I wanted to do as someone who's been through that journey, I've kind of gone from nothing, what do I have around the house, just general kind of stuff, all the way through to starting to buy my first microphones, buy my first interfaces and whatever, all the way through to lighting, cameras, whatever, to basically where we are now. But I don't know if you've noticed, but this camera moves, and the depth of now that I've tried to go to actually create a studio with moving cameras and all of the fancy lighting and audio and stuff. And actually there's a lot of stuff that you can't see, which is through its soundproofing and that kind of thing as well. My point is, I kind of know what it's like to go from small spare bedroom starting off all the way through to, I don't believe there's many kind of studios at this kind of level outside of like professional broadcast BBC kind of level. But actually it's that journey, and hopefully if I can add some value on what I went through and tips for different price points, hopefully that kind of helps, and it might be an interesting kind of bit. My name's Steve. If you want to check this out on YouTube, like and subscribe, that'd be cool as well. Okay, so the first one, free. What can you do for free to launch a podcast? Lots of things. But I'm going to start with some basics, which hopefully people have. And actually, if you're watching this, you've either got a laptop or a mobile phone or a PC, because this is on the internet and you need to be on the internet to do a podcast. So that's my given, that's my like baseline. Basically, if you have a laptop or phone, you have the ability to do Zoom calls. So that is a way, video call, to speak to someone else. And the other thing, I don't know if you can do it on mobiles, but definitely on laptops, you can record your calls. Same on Google Meets, same I think on Teams or Skype, whatever your video call preference thing is. Brilliant. That happy days, that's a way to speak to people. You can use it on your phone. There's lots of stuff that you can do. But even, for instance, traditionally, a podcast is audio. A live stream or the video podcast, the recording of the podcast, is what most people do now. It's what I do. It's what Joe Rogan does. It's what a lot of the big guys do, because actually I consume a lot of my podcasts visually. I watch them on YouTube. But likewise, you also have a lot of people that don't, and they just do audio. If you want to create just an audio podcast on your phone, you can do voice notes, or even again on your laptop, you can record audio, just talk into it. And actually the truth is that's kind of fine. That's a good place to start. The point is, you don't need to buy mega expensive lighting studio, whatever, to actually kind of just get started. Lighting is a really big one because people always want to look good on camera. For free, the big one is natural light. So if you can ever sit near a window, basically you would have the window behind the laptop or camera so it shines on you. That's perfect. That's exactly what you want. There's lots of other stuff which I'm going to talk about actually as you get more and more expensive as we kind of go into it. But that's cool. One of the ways that I do it, it's the way that I still do this, and it's free. I use a software called OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software. You download it, and what you can do is create lots of different scenes. So everything you can see now with the ticker, the clock, the chat thing that comes up when I go between the countdown, and that's all completely free. It takes a bit of time to set up, but you kind of can do it. And actually then the other thing which I'm going to write down is basically, this was a game changer for me when I first set up, because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know who to speak to. And basically, if you Google anchor.fm, that's what I use now, you can actually upload your audio files to that. And basically that's how you can do this for free, and it hosts and holds all your files. That then when you set up all the other stuff, that can then ping that to Google, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. But the point is, it's free. So what we've then got is basically the ability to speak to a guest, especially with COVID. Zoom or Teams or whatever is a great way to do that, because actually you can speak to anyone in the world. Your camera or laptop will have a microphone, so basically that should help kind of collect the audio. OBS is a great way to collect scenes, and then you can put graphics on and do loads of cool stuff, but you don't have to. And then actually, if you're looking to host it, basically anchor.fm is free. And then the other thing I would also say, you want to push it on social. So as we talk about with any kind of business, you can have the best business in the world, but if people don't know about it, they can't buy it. So we really want the ability to take the stuff that we're talking about and have people discover it. Again, social media is free, and you want to jump on lots of different hashtags and stuff to kind of, propel your message. Jonathan, I'm going to read that after I finish this bit, but I appreciate the comment. I promise I won't ignore you. I just want to finish this bit for kind of YouTube. Hope that's okay. Cool. The other thing which I'm going to mention before I forget is that when I first set up, which was in my bedroom, spare bedroom, it was quite a small room. So it was probably 7 foot deep. So in other words, from behind the camera to behind me, the wall was like 7 foot. So it was pretty small. It was about 8 foot wide, but it was quite a small kind of boxy room. And the issue you have whenever you actually kind of record audio in a small room, you get echo. And one of the really big things that you want to try and crack down on straight away is echo. So when you get to a posh expensive setup like this, you can have what are called sound curtains, which are really expensive, and they go floor to ceiling, and they work like a dream. That's what big broadcast people do. But you can use pillows. So basically take pillows from your bedroom, put them behind the camera so nobody can see them. And what it does, it just dampens the sound so it doesn't bounce back. And what that does, it just improves the sound quality kind of so much that I definitely recommend it. And basically what we've then done is give you all the ability to record the podcast, and actually with OBS, if you get creative, you can make it look good as well. But the most important thing is the content. The content has to be good. If the content's crap, it doesn't matter how good the setup is, nobody's going to be interested. They're not going to find value in it. And actually that's, no good. So the one thing to focus on is talking about something that you're passionate about, that people might find interesting. And if you have a particular niche or interest in a certain topic, it could be World of Warcraft, it could be coffee, it could be Call of Duty, whatever you want to talk about, just find something that you're happy to talk about all the time. And actually, you're passionate, and your passion will come across, and it's that kind of thing. But the point is, content is so much more important than a better camera, better lights, better anything else. Get that right, do the rest for free, you're good to go. Okay, so next for kind of 100 to kind of £300 level. So this is where we start to spend some money to basically take the basic stuff that people hopefully kind of already have, which I'm going to assume is a laptop and that kind of thing. The first thing that I think you should spend some money on, I'm going to put my pen down, is a decent microphone. So this is a Behringer, was it XM8500. This was give or take £15 on the internet. It's an XLR cable microphone, so you have a few extra costs to do with cables. But actually the sound difference with something like this versus any form of laptop microphone, phone microphone is like, it'll be 100 times better. There's no question. Nice and cheap. Definitely do this. Is the first thing you want to do. The issue you have is basically so I have lots of kit on the table. There we go, I'll fold it down. XLR cables look like this. So you can't plug these into your computer, but this is what you get in guitars and lots of kind of audio equipment, because it's really kind of good stuff. But what you then need is something like this. So this is the Behringer UMC22. This is the one I actually use today. This was give or take 50 quid, I think. But what you do is that you put the XLR cable in the front, and it has a USB output in the back, and it's that goes into your laptop. And basically what you can then do is transfer the audio onto your laptop, so you can then stream it and you can put that into OBS as the audio source. So therefore, for kind of 80 to 100 pounds with the cables and everything, that you're good to go. And that's definitely the first kind of 100 pounds or so that I would spend. Most people like to have one of these. It's called a pop filter. My posh new microphone now has it built in, but actually what this is there to do is sit between your mouth and the microphone. And what that means is that when you talk, when you kind of expel air and you know, kind of talk, it stops the air going into the microphone and getting crackle. Plus it kind of looks quite cool anyway. But these you can get on Amazon for like 15 quid. And often it comes like in a boom arm thing, which comes as like a pack for about 40 quid. But actually the first thing you want to look at in terms of how you spend your money to help develop your podcast, keep everything else the same, have nice natural light, but just get a good microphone, get this kind of set up for about £100. So I'm going to say microphone. So definitely get your sound sorted first. That's so much more important than visuals. The next thing you want to look at is that if you've got your brilliant content, you've got your everything else, happy days, you've got all this stuff, is then people again want to look good on camera. What I would start with, and it depends on preference, is then on your lighting. So don't invest in a new camera yet. Lighting is more important than your camera in terms of actually creating a great visual kind of setup. One of the things that I use, I'm going to bring this in, you can see this. So this is a newer and basically LED light. This one, you can do both different color temperatures, so you can have it as bright white or yellows or whichever. But actually I purposely choose to have all of the stuff that I do is kind of bright white, as that kind of thing. You can go to any hardware store and find a white LED light. You can get these for like 10 quid, 20 quid. A lot of people, and I actually used to have one, will get a ring light. So basically that's a light which is circular and the camera almost goes in the middle and it's a lot more flattering. I've since evolved kind of past that, but that's definitely worth kind of checking out. But the point is you can get a white LED light from almost any hardware store anywhere to really just help you look good. And definitely do that before you spend money on an expensive camera. And actually look on Amazon, it depends on your budget. And the one thing that I would say, if you can get two and you want to light yourself from either side, and ideally about head height, because what that does, it gets rid of any shadows, you look prettier. But then likewise, if you wear glasses like I do, if you light head on, you'll see the reflection in the glasses and it's not great. You light from the side, you don't get any reflection, and it's, that's for me the way to kind of do it. So then lighting. And you can basically you can spend thousands on lights, but I'm going to say £100 again. And then if you've kind of done that, the next thing that I would look at still isn't the camera, and actually it's to do with your audio. Basically, if you have AirPods or even a traditional kind of video, basically a headset for your mobile phone, what you want, and actually AirPods aren't very good, so I'm not going to recommend AirPods. But it's the ability for you to hear the guest and hear the person that you're talking to without it coming back through the microphone. Does that make sense? So if you have a laptop or an iMac, the standard settings are the iMac has a microphone and the iMac has a speaker, and it'll play the stuff out and it'll try and be clever and basically not record itself. But that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is actually to have some sort of headset. And that could be as cheap as the one that comes with your phone, which you'll already have. One of the things I do, because actually in the setup that I wanted something where you can't really see it on camera. So actually I have these earpieces, sorry, it's all kind of tangled. And basically these sit behind my ear. Where are we at? There we go. I'll go for this one. So I choose just to have one in, and this actually sits in my ear and it goes behind my collar. But what it allows me to do is listen to the guest, but there's no audio feedback in the room. You try and keep the room as silent as you possibly can. And it just massively improves the quality and actually prevents a lot of issues, which I have had in the past, where basically the sound goes back through the microphone and it's not very good. And it's, you don't want to do that if you can. But what you often find is most headphones have quite a short cable. So what I also have, Sorry, I keep picking stuff off the floor as well. I just did a lot of stuff. It's basically this. So it's a headphone extension cable. So this one's 3 meters. This bit goes into your standard headphones or what your earpiece, whatever you use. Those earpieces were like 20 quid on Amazon, again, not expensive. This cable's probably like a £5, but what you can then do is plug this back into the back of your computer or PC and then be stood a few meters away. You can still hear them, but you're not tied in. But the point is, it's all these little tricks. That's all the things that you kind of want to do. And actually, if you get all of that kind of stuff right, you've then you're within your 100 to 300 pounds budget. You've got your better microphone, the sound's good, you're well lit, you can hear them so there's no kind of echo. And actually I would still look at the kind of the soundproofing. That for me, the little foam squares that you get on Amazon aren't very good. I think actually big soft materials actually absorb sound much better. But basically, you can either invest in mine are called Producer's Choice sound kind of blankets, which are really, really expensive, really big and really heavy. But actually just pillows and stuff to really dampen the sound in the room will go a long way. And just on that topic, if you can ever have a quieter room or a room that has furnishings and stuff in it anyway, it'll be so much better. You don't want a big hollow echoey room because the quality will seem rubbish. Cool. Okay, next. So then once you've kind of got sorted and you've kind of got everything up and running, you're starting to build a following, you're starting to stream your stuff, then the sky is the limit on how much you want to spend on stuff to really develop the experience. I'm going to walk you through some basic stuff, which I did over time, but actually you can spend easy up to £50,000 on a YouTube or live streaming studio without even any hassle. And it's all about diminishing returns. But the truth is, your content won't get better. The quality will get better, but it's all about the content. If people actually like what you're talking about and they interact with, that's the real value, not just having expensive kit. So never get confused kind of between the two. I'm now going to start talking about cameras. So this is one of mine. So this is a Canon EOS RP mirrorless camera. I have 2 of these. One is actually what's shooting me now. This one is basically, it has a 50mm f1.8 lens on. If you ever see a stream where they blur the background, and you see that on films and movies and TVs, you kind of need a specialist camera and lens to do that. So the reason I have 2 cameras, because I have 2 different shots that I kind of set up. One is from there where I have this on a tripod at head height to film, and then I have the special lens to kind of blur the background. And I've started to get to the point where I have different filters on to really kind of amplify and maximize that up. But if you're looking at a camera and lens like this, then you're starting to about £1,500 at that level. And this runs USB into my kind of computer. And that way, if you keep all of the other audio stuff the same, your visuals start to improve and you start to kind of build the stuff. On lighting, which is also equally important, there's no point just buying the expensive camera if you don't work at your lighting. When I do my interviews, I have a different lighting setup to what I have right now. But the way that you always want to do it, and there's lots of studies on YouTube and videos and stuff that you can follow, is often you want to be well lit, that people kind of can see you and trust you and whatever, and it wants to be quite flattering. So when I do my interviews, I have 2 of these, either side, kind of head height from an angle, so that hopefully I'm well lit and it looks good. But I also have what's called a hair light. So on this camera, and actually even on this shot now, I have 2 of those behind my head. And what that does, it lights the back of your head. So it gives you really good 3-dimensional depth in terms of your image, and it separates you from the background. In a wide shot like this, it's less important. But actually, there's lots of videos on 3-point lighting setups and stuff that you can really kind of look at to kind of help set up. But the point is, the camera on its own is good, but you want the lighting to kind of go with it. And I've probably spent a few £1,000s on kind of lighting. And again, the big difference is it depends on the area that you're looking to light. So if it's just use a camera and a laptop to talk to someone, you can actually get away with not very much because you don't have to light a huge area. When I do this, I actually have several lights lighting the entire room. And that's a completely different challenge because you need a lot more power to light a bigger space, and then it becomes a lot more expensive. Some of the popular lights are by a company called Aperture, which start about £1,000 kind of each. If you watch a lot of the really big YouTubers, they use those. They also do a slightly more budget line called the Amran line. So I have two Amran 100Ds, which are 100 watt power lights. I have a 200D over there. But then to create the uniform light across the room, and this is from live stream setup, not from a podcast setup. Basically, I bounce it off the roof. So what you're doing is using the roof as a giant softbox to give a nice uniform light. But the point is, it's all of the little details and that to start to kind of build up. I use a wireless microphone. So this is a Rode Wireless Go, which is on a lav mic, which is here, which again goes straight into OBS, which kind of works. I have basically everything you can't see. All the walls are covered in soundproofing. So I use Producer's Choice sound blankets, which kind of cover all the walls, so there's no kind of echo. And then you're starting to get into details on what things that you want to teach on. The office space hire itself, I have this room just to stream in. So that probably cost me about £9,000 a year. I have different laptops that are in the background. This is a 65-inch, 120 hertz TV, which doesn't flicker on the screen. The camera itself, this one has an f4 wide angle lens on, so you can kind of see more of the room. You'll see that it moves. So basically this one actually sits on a 48-inch slider because I wanted the depth, and it was all the little details that kind of build up. And even down to, especially for kind of YouTube, you then start to work on your background and what you want to show people. So something which is very popular. These things are called boiling RGB lights. So this is the P1. I actually have 5 of these. And basically what these do, they're small LED lights. That's on. So it's currently on white, but you can make it any color you wish. And basically if you wanted to light the background of your shot, in a normal room, there actually, one is probably fine. You might want 2 to kind of, you know, I used to change the background in all of my podcast interviews to different colors. 1 or 2 of these is perfect to do that. And they sell for, give or take, 120 quid each. But then you can see how these things all start to kind of add up. But it's all about the experience that you want to create, and, you know, creating your brand and that kind of thing. It's the experience that people kind of involve in. And one of the really popular things that people kind of get, they want, but I'm just being honest, it doesn't make that big a difference, is if you watch Joe Rogan or Logan Paul or whatever. So this is the Shure SM7B. This is the, in many ways, people class this as the best kind of podcast microphone. This in itself is give or take £350, £400, and it does largely the same as the one which was £15 with the pop filter. For me, the visuals are quite important, and almost it's that perception of being a high-level podcast. But this, being brutally honest, most people, especially when you broadcast over the internet, won't hear the difference. But with this, you still have the XLR kind of cable to kind of transmit it. It still goes into this, which is the USB interface. But then ironically, when you start to go to more expensive equipment, you also need things like this. So this is called the Cloud Lifter, which basically takes the signal, which comes from the Shure SM7B, makes it louder before it goes into the USB interface, before it goes into the computer. But all of these different things, they're all kind of diminishing returns, which most people won't notice, if I'm brutally honest. And as you kind of start to build this up, you might have custom made neon signs, which are like 1,500 quid, and different laptops and different machines and multiple screens and lots of kind of different stuff to actually do your streaming interface on. The cost starts to go up. But the truth is, if the content isn't there, you're kind of wasting your time and you don't need to. So the point of this summary is that actually you can start a podcast for free and it'll be really, really good. And actually, you're probably already 60% of the way there. If you spend, say, up to £300 on some lighting, a microphone, and kind of get set up, and maybe set up OBS for some stuff, for say 300 quid, you can actually have a really good setup, which will take you 85% of the way there. And then if you spend 10 times the money again, you'll get that next 5%. But the truth is, you probably don't need to, unless you do it for a business reason where you're looking to raise profile and it's part of a regular thing like this, which is I kind of do as well. What time are we on? We are on 9:50. So actually, I've been talking for a lot longer than I thought I would. Apologies. My name's Steve Pugh. Hopefully some of the stuff might be interesting. Check out the Fabric webinar series next week, which I'm really looking forward to, at least there. Hopefully when the Found Sessions video comes out with Carl, I really kind of look forward to sharing that too. And then likewise, I'm also starting to share some of my guests and slots and stuff for the Growth Strategy podcast, which I do, which goes out onto iTunes, Spotify, and lots of other kind of stuff as well. Have a wonderful weekend. If I don't see you, it's a pleasure as always. I love the interaction. Classroom sessions, the next one's actually at 12 p.m. today, and they run 4 times a week. You can join if you want. All the links and stuff are on the kind of website. Good luck with your own kind of personal development. If I can ever do anything to help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then likewise, if anyone ever actually gets to this point and checks out any of the streams, please, if you're interested in the Roadmap MBA, so it's www.roadmapmba.com, reach out to me, drop me a message, and I'll happily send you a free course. A lot of my plan for this year is just to raise awareness, get feedback, that kind of thing as well. And I would love to basically talk to you and help however I can as well. So I can just see that one last stuff came in from Jonathan. Jonathan, sorry I missed your message, but I'm just going to catch up. In the process of sorting out, but hopefully in this month, doing some videos on products, different cameras, spot on. No problem at all, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to kind of talk about it. But likewise, because a lot of people ask about podcasts and stuff and they want to do their own, genuinely, as someone that's been through the process, I know what I've spent money on and it didn't really make any difference. And it's just that balance of I don't want you to spend the same money if you don't have to. And it's that kind of learning curve that hopefully is quite honest as well. So my name's Steve Pugh. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful weekend. Jonathan, I really appreciate the kind of feedback and stuff as well. Have a great weekend. And if, I can do anything to help, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, cheers guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.